All right, prospectors, welcome back. Yesterday, I kept pushing forward, loading more and more material into our wash plant. And let me tell you, this is not an easy job. The ground is stubborn, the machine demands constant attention, and my old loader, well, let's just say it's doing its best, and I respect that. Every bucket feels heavier than the last. You think it's just dirt, but out here, every scoop could be hiding something valuable, or nothing at all. That's the game. But what really kept me going was that gold concentrate. Yeah, that moment when you start seeing those darker, heavier particles collecting. Suddenly, all the noise, all the effort, all the stress, it starts to make sense. It's like the land is finally whispering, "All right, you earned this." Not gonna lie, I caught myself smiling more than once. Probably looked a little crazy out here in the middle of nowhere, talking to a machine and getting excited over what basically looks like muddy sand. But that muddy sand might just change everything. Still, I can't let my guard down. One mistake, one wrong move with the loader, one overload into the hopper, and we could lose time, equipment, or worse. So yeah, the work continues. Slow, heavy, but steady. Because out here, you don't rush gold, you earn it. All right, prospectors, what a day this turned out to be. By the time evening rolled in, I made a decision. I wasn't done yet, not even close. Instead of calling it a night, I figured it was time to kick things up a notch and finally get our small charcoal production running. Because out here, if you want to survive, you don't waste time, you create opportunity. So first things first, I grabbed an empty fuel barrel and headed out to refill it. Now, driving through the Elk River at dusk is something else. The light drops fast, the shadows stretch, and every tree starts looking like it might be watching you or judging your life choices. Hard to tell. Anyway, I got the fuel, no problems there, and on my way back, I made a quick stop at the store. And by quick, I mean I walked in for one thing and walked out with upgrades. Yeah, I picked up additional equipment for our mini loader. At this point, I realized something important. Little by little, I've actually managed to collect almost everything needed to turn that small machine into a serious workhorse. Not bad for a guy who started with almost nothing. When I got back, no time wasted. I went straight to the charcoal setup and filled it up with fuel. The machine came to life and I just stood there for a second, watching it, thinking, all right, we're actually doing this. Now came the next decision, what wood to use? And the answer was pretty obvious, birch. There's a lot of it out here, like a lot. And the funny thing is, it's rarely used for high-value materials, which makes it perfect for charcoal production. Cheap, available, and honestly, kind of underrated. So yeah, birch it is. Thanks to the new loader attachments, things got a whole lot easier. I'm not just moving small pieces anymore. I can cut large logs, handle heavier loads, and if I really want to, drag entire trees straight into production like I actually know what I'm doing, which is still debatable. But hey, it works. Bit by bit, the system is coming together. Gold processing, charcoal production, multiple income paths. That's how you survive out here. You don't rely on one thing. You build momentum. By the time everything was running, the sky had gone completely dark. The machines hummed in the background, the forest went quiet, and for the first time all day, I finally stopped. Made myself some food. Nothing fancy, but after a day like this, it tasted like a 5-star meal. And then, that was it. I didn't even make it to any kind of comfortable. I just dropped down and passed out instantly. No overthinking, no stress. Just one thought before everything went black. We're making progress. And tomorrow, we go even bigger. All right, prospectors, morning is here. And yeah, you can feel it. Autumn is slowly taking over. The air's colder, the light hits differently, and the whole place, it's starting to change. Leaves are turning, the ground looks rougher, and our land, little by little, is beginning to transform. It's not just wilderness anymore. It's starting to feel like something ours. But here's the good part. While we were busy surviving, working, barely keeping up with everything, our carpentry workshops didn't sit still, not even close. They've been working. And now we've got results. A fresh batch of wooden floor panels, a few solid chairs, and even a large table. Not bad, right? I mean, we went from having basically nothing to producing actual sellable goods. That's progress you can see. And it doesn't stop there. We've also got timber and wood chips ready to go. And out here, nothing goes to waste. Every piece, every leftover, it all has value. It all can be turned into money. So yeah, things are moving. Slowly, steadily, but in the right direction. And for the first time, it really feels like this place isn't abandoned anymore. It's alive. All right, no time to waste. The moment I saw what we had produced, I knew this wasn't the kind of opportunity you sit on. So I hooked up the trailer to the pickup, fired up the loader, and got straight to work. No warm-up, no second thoughts. We're loading. Piece by piece, I started stacking everything. Floor panels, chairs, that big table, trying to fit it all in without turning the trailer into a rolling disaster, which, to be honest, was a very real possibility. One wrong move, and the whole thing turns into a wooden avalanche. But hey, pressure makes it interesting. The loader's working, I'm working, and for a moment it actually feels like a proper operation. Not just survival, but business. Still, there's a catch. We're on a timer. Because it's not just about delivering and selling all this. I've also got a job to get to. Yeah, turns out rebuilding a life in the wilderness doesn't cancel your responsibilities. Who would have thought? So now it's a race. Get everything loaded, secure it properly, and hit the road before I run out of time. Because if I pull this off, we don't just clear inventory, we make money. And right now, that's exactly what we need. All right, we made it. Pulled up to the sell point, trailer still intact, which honestly already feels like a win. Nothing fell off, nothing broke, and somehow all those carefully stacked pieces actually survived the trip. I'll take it. No time to admire the view though, we're unloading fast. One by one, the products go out. Floor panels, chairs, that big table, everything we worked for. Watching it all disappear from the trailer is a weird feeling. On one hand, you're losing your stock. On the other, you know exactly what's coming next. And then, there it is. $34,299 for the products and another $1,112 for the wood chips. Yeah, that's a good day. Actually, scratch that. That's a really good day. For a moment, I just sit there thinking, not bad for something that started with almost nothing. This place, this work, it's finally paying off. But we're not done. Not even close. No time to celebrate, no time to slow down. I've got somewhere to be. Work is waiting. So I jump back in the pickup, fire it up, and we're heading straight to the sawmill.
because out here, momentum is everything, and I'm not about to lose it now.
All right, that's a wrap. Got to the sawmill early, put in the work, handled everything that needed to be done. Nothing too crazy today, but hey, work is work. Around here, you take what you can get. They told me the payment will come through by the end of the day, so now it's just a waiting game. Not my favorite part, but as long as it shows up, I'm not complaining. Right now, things at the sawmill are pretty quiet. Not a lot going on, not a lot of volume, but from what I'm hearing, that's about to change. Winter is coming, and apparently, that's when everything kicks into high gear. More jobs, more pressure, more opportunities. We'll be ready. But for now, we're heading back home. Back to our land, our machines, our growing operation. Because even when the sawmill slows down, our work doesn't. And honestly, that's exactly how I like it. All right, back home. First thing I did, grabbed a quick bite. Nothing fancy, just enough to refuel. Out here, you don't really get breaks. You just pause long enough to keep going. Sitting there for a minute, I started thinking. We've got production running, we've got momentum, but if the workshops run out of materials, everything slows down, and that's not happening on my watch. So yeah, no long rest today. I fired things back up and headed out to cut some wood. Now, it sounds simple, just cut some trees, right? Yeah, until you're out there dealing with uneven ground, heavy logs, and trying not to turn your equipment into a very expensive piece of modern art. But step by step, log by log, we got it done. Cut, stack, load. And not just a little, I went all in. Got a solid batch ready, loaded it up, and delivered it straight to the carpentry workshops. One shop fully stocked, and the second one, well, let's say it got a good head start. That should keep them busy. And that's the goal. Keep everything moving. Keep the chain alive, because every log we process turns into something more valuable. And honestly, seeing it all come together like this, yeah, that's a good feeling.
All right, with most of the work done, I figured I'd squeeze in just a little more progress before calling it a day. You know, just a couple of buckets into the wash plant. Nothing too crazy. But of course, nothing out here is ever that simple. It had been raining for hours. Not light rain either. The kind that soaks everything, turns solid ground into mud, and makes you question every decision that led you here. The whole area around the wash plant was getting slippery. And my old loader, yeah, it definitely wasn't happy about it. At this point, I couldn't tell. Is it the mud? Or is the machine just tired of me? Probably both. Every move felt like a risk. The wheels slipping, the bucket struggling, the whole thing acting like it might just sit down and refuse to work altogether. And honestly, I wouldn't even blame it. But we didn't come this far to stop. So I took it slow, careful, one bucket at a time. Fought the mud, fought the machine, and somehow managed to get a couple of loads into the hopper. Not pretty, not fast, but effective. And sometimes that's all you need. After that, I just stopped. No point pushing it too far. Out here, if the weather says take a break, you listen, or you pay for it later. So yeah, I stepped back, looked at the rain, listened to the machines cooling down, and decided, that's enough for now. We rest. And when the weather clears, we go again.